Good evening, Bartow. On behalf of the Polk County History Center and Main Street Bartow, I'm very happy to welcome you to Constitution Day at Friday Fest. So on September 17th, 1787, the founding fathers of our country signed the most influential document in American history, the United States Constitution. Originally known in the 1930s and 1940s as I Am an American Day, and later Citizenship Day, the commemoration not only honors the 39 delegates to the Constitutional Convention who signed the document in 1787, but also those who become citizens of the United States every year. In 2005, the commemoration evolved into Constitution Day. What I have for you now is a reading of a proclamation that's issued on the signature of the mayor of Bartow, Scott Shublom, and I'd like to read that proclamation to you now for the city of Bartow. Whereas September 17th, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore I, Scott Shublom, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Bartow, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2021 as Constitution Week in the city of Bartow, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideas of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by diligently protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Dated at Bartow, Florida, this 8th day of September, 2021. Now, it is my honor to introduce to us, and please join me in welcoming the Color Guard from Summerlin Academy here in Bartow, under the leadership of Command Sergeant Major Rosina Carter Sherman. Our cadets always do an amazing job, and we were honored to have the Color Guard present the colors on this occasion. And now at the presentation of the colors, I'm very pleased to introduce Jamie Jamison, who is the Curator of Education and Programming here at the History Center. And with her son, they're going to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jamie, and your precious son. And so now we retire the colors. And now I have such a special honor for the city of Bartow tonight to introduce to you our Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court, Charles Canady. Just kind of sharing with you a couple things about why it is so special for us to have him, particularly commemorating this occasion with us tonight, is, as you recall, he served 3 terms in the Florida House of Representatives, 4 terms in the United States House of Representatives. He served as general counsel to Governor Jeb Bush. He was appointed by Governor Jeb Bush to the 2nd District Court of Appeal in 2002. He was appointed to the Florida Supreme Court by Governor Charlie Crist in 2008 and has served as Chief Justice since 2010. Please welcome Chief Justice Charles Canady for a reading of the preamble of the Constitution.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm delighted to be in Bartow this evening with all of you for this very special occasion. I'm grateful that the storm clouds have parted in honor of our Constitution. And so now it is my great privilege to read the preamble to the United States Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. When those words were written and acted upon, all generations of Americans to follow received a great blessing. The great blessing of constitutional government. The great blessings that flow from it of life under the rule of law. The Constitution is a bulwark against arbitrary power and against anarchy. It is a safeguard for the rule of law and equal justice. It is the framework for the protection of individual rights. It is the foundation for the stability that makes economic prosperity possible. It's truly a great blessing for all of us, for those who have gone before and those who will follow. And as the proclamation indicated, it is a precious heritage which we must strive to preserve. We cannot let it slip away from us. And when we think of our Constitution, we should also think of all of those who have sacrificed their lives over the years to protect our country, to defend our way of life, and in defense of the United States Constitution. So I want to thank all of you for being here this evening, and I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to participate in this. God bless you all.
I've been asked to bring us a brief history lesson about this esteemed document that we are praising today. The U.S. Constitution, bringing stability and prosperity to America since 1787. Any student of history knows that the kind of government that a nation has will generate the kind of life its citizens will enjoy. The foundation of a nation's political system is the fertile soil from which will grow certain types of plants. So just like a farmer tends the soil to ensure that it will ensure a bountiful harvest, so our founding fathers took great care to prepare the document that we celebrate today, knowing that the foundation of our body politic was an essential and necessary ingredient for the progress of the people. And it has been now for 234 years. But my friends, that is not to say that our nation's system of government had an easy birth. In fact, its ratification was far from certain. And as a matter of fact, it pitted many of our founding fathers, men who had bled together in battle, against one another. Yes, men who had borne the scars of battle found themselves sometimes on opposite sides of whether or not the Constitution, as it was originally proposed, was adequate. In fact, sometimes lifelong friendships were dissolved. A perfect example is George Mason, who wrote the Virginia Declaration of Independence and the Virginia Declaration of Rights. It was his writing that formed the basis for the Bill of Rights. He was so much against the Constitution that he refused thereafter to speak to his closest neighbor in Tidewater, Virginia, none other than George Washington. And Patrick Henry himself, of "Give me liberty" or "Give me death" fame, fought against the Constitution, and when he lost, he retired from public life to spend the rest of his life playing the violin in his front yard to his grandchildren. So you may have been seeing people wearing t-shirts that said about the Constitution, "Americans disagreeing since 1787. Well, that is an actual truth. But you know, the great thing is that the Constitution was eventually ratified. And one of the greatest things about this document is that it does provide stability so that the economy and the civilization can grow, but it also provides the ability to be amended when the citizens believe that's appropriate. And we have done that 27 times, including 10 times right off the bat within 2 years of the Constitution with the Bill of Rights, those critical freedoms that so many of our founding fathers were concerned were not in the original document. Now, interestingly, y'all, there have been over 5,000 amendments proposed, and some of them have been some real doozies. For example, in 1810, it was proposed that any American be stripped of their citizenship if they used a title of nobility. Now, this caused a lot of concern to attorneys who often use the term esquire, but that is actually a term from the French court. Back at the turn of the 20th century, an amendment was put forth to outlaw divorce in America. In 1876, following a very messy presidential campaign, an amendment was proposed that would have changed the presidency from a one-person position to a three-person triumvirate, similar to the old Roman Republic. During the dark days of the Great Depression, in 1933, an amendment was proposed that would outlaw millionaires, and any money made in a year over $1 million would be forfeit to pay the national debt. And talk about your manifest destiny. Back in 1893, a Wisconsin representative foresaw that many nations were going to want to come voluntarily and join an American empire. And so he backed an amendment that would have changed our name from the United States of America to the United States of Earth. Now, as I close, I was asked to teach you the 27 amendments. And I'm going to teach you them in 3 minutes that you can remember. Are you ready? Everybody, I'm going to need your hands out. All right? So everybody shake your hands at me. All right, here we go. Amendment 1, put your finger out, put it over your lips. The First Amendment is freedom of speech, press, and religion. Now take 2 fingers, your thumb and your index, and point it like this. The right to bear arms. 3 is a crowd, so no quartering of soldiers in homes. 4, you think of the 4 walls of your house. No unreasonable searches and seizures in my house. Now take your 5 fingers like this and slap it over your mouth like that. That is the right not to what? Incriminate yourself. Now take 5 fingers like this and one other, your index finger, and point to your wrist like you were looking at your watch. That is the right to a speedy trial. Number 7. 7 is a lucky number in a lot of cultures, and I hope you're lucky enough that the jury will believe you because you have the right to a jury trial in all common law suits over $20. Now, y'all take your hands and put them in it like an 8 figure like this. It also kind of looks like you've been handcuffed, doesn't it? That is the right to not have excessive bail and also no cruel and unusual punishment. Now 9 sounds kind of like the German word for no. 9. No, you can't take away my rights. Just because an individual's rights may not be listed specifically in the federal Constitution does not mean they don't exist. So no, don't take it away. Now 10, put out both of your hands like this, all 10 fingers, like this. Stop. You're telling the federal government, stop. You only have the power that is listed in the Constitution. Now 11 is made up of 1 and 1, is it not? So one on one, the 11th Amendment says one person cannot sue the state, a state that is not your own. You must stay within your state when you sue. 12 is made up of what? 1 and 2. What are the 1 and 2 highest positions in America? President and vice president. The 12th Amendment has to do with how those positions are elected. 13 is a very unlucky and often considered a bad number in different cultures, and one of the worst things you can think of is slavery. The 13th Amendment outlawed slavery. 14, as in 1 and 4, all for one and one for all. This is the equal protection and due process clauses. Now 15, you have to think about this. You remember this little thing. I won a 5K, race. This is the Amendment 15, that the vote cannot be denied based on race. Now, y'all, 16, what are you allowed to do at age 16? Drive, which means you can have a job, which means you can pay income taxes. 16 allowed the income tax. Now, I want you to think of a 17, a 1 and a 7. Turn them on their side, and it looks like an arrow pointing for a direction. This is the direct election of senators. Now, at 18, you got a lot of rights, don't you? Got a lot of rights. You can vote, you can marry, all kind of stuff. But you know what you can't do? You can't drink. 18 is prohibition. Now, 19, I want you to think of a 1 and a 9. Stephen Giffens, my friend over there, you better be listening here. There's going to be a quiz after. So a 1 and a 9, push them together. It looks like a face with long hair. That's women. The right to vote for the women. 20, January 20th is the presidential inauguration day. What can you do at 21, y'all? Time to drink. Prohibition repeal. 22, as in 2 plus 2. That's how long a president can serve. Up to 2 terms plus 2 years of an unexpired term. 23, y'all, is a little rhyme. Say it with me. 23 DC. 23 DC. That gave residents of Washington, D.C. the right to vote. Now, 24 is a cheer. Are you ready for this? 2, 4, 6, 8. What do we really hate? Taxes. Taxes. We hate taxes. That was, you can vote without having to pay a poll tax. Now, 25 is another rhyme, so everybody say it with me. 25 will survive. 25 will survive. That is the presidential succession order. 2 more, y'all. 26 is 2 plus 6, which equals what? 18. At 18, you can vote. And finally, 27 is another rhyme. Everybody say it with me. It's a little more complicated. Are you ready? 27 pays. 27 pays. Next election raise. Next election raise. 27 pays. Next election raise. Meaning that if Congress votes a raise for itself, it is not effective until after the next election. Do you know your 27 amendments, my friends? I think you do. And I want to conclude my remarks with this. Y'all, the framers were in the end, they weren't demigods, nor were they fools. They were human beings, and they were shrewd in the best sense of that word. They understood the human condition and recognized that we are, all of us, neither total angels nor total demons. But since we do suffer from inconsistency and from being rash, the best system of government is one that can check our excesses and hopefully forestall destruction until the better angels of our nature and the clearer wisdom of our vision return. And we see that wisdom in the amendment process. I wish to say God bless those framers, God bless the U.S. Constitution, and God bless America. It is my great pleasure at this time to introduce our musical ensemble. I must digress to say, at one time, years ago, I was the executive director of this particular musical organization, and it was wonderful times for me. I would like you to welcome to the stage the Lakeland Symphony Orchestra Brass Quintet, made up of Trey Moore, principal trumpet, Kyle Lanier, trumpet, Chase DiCarlo, principal French horn, Buggy Bowden, principal trombone, and Joseph Alvarez, principal tuba, for a 30-minute wonderful patriotic and Americana concert. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the Lakeland Symphony Orchestra Brass Quintet.